we start off with an exercise here called the slick floor bridge curl. And again, you can do this on any floor in your house, like a hardwood floor or a tile floor, that you can just allow your socks to slide back and forth. The key here is that it's reinforcing one of the main necessities of lower body training, and that is to learn how to engage both your hamstrings and your glutes and get them to work together. And by demanding that I have to maintain this high bridge the whole time that I slide my legs out and back into this hamstring curl is getting those glutes to make sure they're the primary driver of the movement. The next exercise is something called a long leg march. And here we're just trying to, again, work that entire posterior chain, and you'll see that this lights it up a lot more than you might have thought it would because it looks so damn easy. And then we finish off with a simple exercise that at this point in the game is not going to be so simple. Again, that cumulative fatigue is what we're going for here. And again, that lack of rest is going to demand that that fatigue sets in. And this is just something called a high hip buck. You just put your feet up on any surface. Again, it could be your couch, and you're simply driving up, allowing the glutes to really drive the movement here. We then shift to the upper body again. In this case, the upper body push. And now the last time we kind of went a little bit heavy on the front side with the shoulders. This time we're gonna go a little bit heavier on the front side with the chest. And we do this with our variable wall push-up. And here, because we're in this decline position, we're actually working the upper portion of our chest. A little counterintuitive, but that's how it works. And as we fatigue here, you simply walk yourself down the wall to allow yourself to continue, knowing that the flat variation is going to be a little bit easier than that decline variation. So as we fatigue, we can do a few more reps. We continue to try to do this for the entire minute if possible. If you can't do this because the wall version is too hard, you can simply put your knees up onto any surface, again a couch or a bed, and you perform the decline variation, and when you can't do any more, you go down to the flat. Then we take it to the next exercise here, which is actually really interesting, and it's the bodyweight side lateral raise. And we lose sight of the fact that we always think we have to move the limb in space to work a muscle, and that's not true. You see, we can actually move the body around a fixed limb. And in this case, we're getting relative abduction of the arm, meaning we are training the muscles of the shoulder by moving the body away from the arm, but still winding up with the same end product, and that is abduction of the arm. And again, we could do this from the knees if we need to make it a little bit easier for the beginners. And then we wrap this up again, I mentioned, with the tricep exercise. This time it's going to be more for putting the tricep long head on stretch. It's the bodyweight tricep extension. Again, you choose any surface that's relatively about the height that you see here, and you allow yourself to dip down, dive your head down underneath so you can get more extension of those arms back up overhead. We go back to the lower body again, and this time we're actually going to try to hit the quads, but in more of a lunge bias versus a squat bias. And the first exercise we start off here with is the alternating crossover step up. So the step up is a great exercise for engaging the quads. Try to keep your torso upright as much as you possibly can. And the slight crossover of the leg behind me just allows me to preload that quad a little bit more in the bottom position so I can drive up more forcefully. From here we move to the second exercise, again remember with no rest, and it is the alternating reverse lunge. It's a little bit easier on the knees because we don't get that anterior stress that we get when we actually lunge forward. So you're going to find even if you have knee problems, this is going to work for you regardless of what level you're performing it at. And then we wrap it up here with the split squat jump, a little bit more of an explosive exercise here that tends to be difficult, especially at this point in the game. See if you can gut it out for the entire minute if possible. We go back one more time for the upper body pull circuit, and it starts this time not with the pull-up, but with the chin-up. Again, focus a little bit more heavily on the biceps while still making sure we get the main benefit of one of the best exercises we can do for pull, and that's that chin. And again, if you can't do this, you could do the seated version of it as I showed before, just by sitting down and doing the same setup we used before. Next we go to our second exercise here, and it is the inverted row. This is actually an exercise that works its way into a lot of the ATHLEAN-X programs. We're now getting more of a horizontal pull as opposed to a vertical. Again, at this point in the game, it could be a lot more challenging than it would have been if you did it on its own. And then we wrap up with our final exercise here. It's a bodyweight exercise. I just featured it in a recent video. It's called the back widow. You can see every single muscle in the upper back and rear delts get engaged here by this simple looking exercise, but certainly not at this stage of the game. I want you to wrap up with this one. And then we go to our last two circuits, once again a core circuit. And we start with that lower focus exercise, and it's the ab halo. So what you do is you try to lift and create a half a circle at the same time. So lift that pelvis up off the ground, engage the lower abs, and try to create a half circle for a little bit of rotation, and repeat for the entire minute. You move to the next exercise here, which is a V-up tuck. Again, trying to engage both upper and lower by moving both the upper and lower torso together. Finally, we wrap up with one exercise here. It's called the sit-up elbow thrust. You're getting a little bit of extra oblique work, but obviously it's primarily a top-down driven exercise. And then we go and we have our final corrective, and it's one of my favorites. It's the reverse hyperextension here. The idea is to lay again over any stable surface and really drive the lifting of the legs by first contracting the glutes and then allowing the low back to take over from there.